Hey folks, this is a man once again, and of course this is my review of the sequel, Another Stakeout, which I got a long time ago for $1. Now previously I had reviewed this film, which I think, unfortunately is forgotten now, like I said in my previous review, Stakeout. This is a very fun, entertaining buddy cop film that doesn't get talked about a lot. When people say buddy cop movies, this film gets forgotten. I think this is a really entertaining, solid flick. Check out my review of this. But then 6 years later, you get a sequel that wasn't really needed. Another sequel. Another Stakeout. The thing about it, I mean, 6 years went by, and like I said, Stakeout is one of those films that not many people remember. They probably didn't remember when this film came out. That's why this film was a flop. Just 6 years in between. And it's not like a character people really knew about, like Rambo or Indiana Jones or Rocky Balboa or something like that. People like, another what? What the hell is Stakeout? Like, that's probably what people thought. Um, the thing about this film, it's just a disappointing movie. Definitely not as good as the first film. It pales in comparison with the first film. I mean, mainly the story is you have a witness played by Kathy Moriarty. She is going to testify, and at the beginning you have a scene where she's in a sort of witness protection. And Miguel Ferrer, not sure if you pronounce his name Ferrar or Ferrer. Miguel Ferrar, I'll say, for the sake of argument. Of course, you see him in RoboCop, Deep Star 6, The Stand, and many others. Miguel is an assassin who he takes over this gasoline truck, puts the gasoline truck in front of the yard, and of course they look at his place and think it's a normal truck, and starts pumping it in. And it's actually waste disposal. It's not gasoline. It's waste disposal. But they find out that the guy's actually pumping stuff in. He has a detonator, blows up the house, kills a few agents, almost kills Catherine Moriarty, but she lives and they can't find her body. So they think that, maybe she's gone to this couple's house that two people she knew. One of them played by Dennis Farina. I think the other is Marcia. I think the other one is the woman from uh, Tremors, I believe. I don't know why. For some reason, in this review, I'm just slurring my words. This film is just simply not as good as the first film. It's not as funny. It's definitely not as solid with the action department. The beginning, when you first see Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss, they have a scene kind of similar to the first film, but not as good, where they're chasing this bad guy, and this time Richard Dreyfuss, get him and the bad guy go into the trash, into a dump truck, and you have a fight in the dump truck. And you have a similar scene where he comes in, oh, what's that smell? Instead of the fish in the first film, here's the trash. Like, really? Did we have to redo that again? I don't really think you need to do that. Yeah, the couple is Dennis Farina, who Dennis Farina is one of the good points of this film. He did a really solid job with this. Marcia Strassman, she was in. I guess not. For some reason, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, not Tremors. Duh. I knew she looked familiar, but Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that's right. As Rick Moranis' wife. I forgot about it, yeah. No wonder she looked familiar. Yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It wasn't Tremors. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But it's just not as funny. I don't know how else to put it. Uh, their captain is, in the first film, Forrest Whitaker's partner, who had the dog. That guy's now the captain. And they come in, and you really start to feel the PG-13 rating. That's another thing. This film is rated PG-13, while this film is rated R, and it really shows. And it makes it less fun that it feels like more of a family film, almost in a way, because, yeah, Rosie O'Donnell, she's a big draw against the movie, because I'm not a fan of Rosie O'Donnell. Because Rosie O'Donnell is this assistant DA who gets these two to go on a stakeout with her on Dennis Farina and Marcia Strassman to see if the witness, Kathy Moriarty, will show up. And she brings her dog, and they have to pretend that they're husband, wife, and that it's their son. So he has to shave off the mustache. So you get jokes of, I don't want to shave my mustache off. And, you know, I've had this mustache for 13 years. How long have you had yours? And I went to Rosie O'Donnell and went, shit. She's not a fan of her. I find her annoying. I don't think she's funny. I think she's terrible. I'm just not a fan of her. And I don't. What's sad about this film as well, I'm going all over the place, because 6 years later, you get Richard Dreyfuss, Emilio Estevez, you get the director John Badham directing this again, you get the same writer, Jim Koof, or Koff, however you say his name, Jim Koof. You even get the guy who did the score, Arthur B. Rubinstein. And it's like, you get all the people back to do a film, and this is what you come up with? The only times this film was fun in any way was Dennis Farina. He does a really good job. You've seen Dennis Farina in a few films. You can look him up on IMDb. Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez have some fun moments. Like they're arguing about rock, paper, scissors. That was a fun thing. When they first see it, they have their story straight. They have to have their story straight. And like Richard Dreyfuss' first wife was dead and all this stuff. So when they first see Dennis Farina, Emilio Estevez is like, yeah, I'm the son from the first marriage. Mom's dead. Now, the way that was put off kind of. So you get a little bit of fun moments. But at the same time, it's kind of like blasé, kind of like sitting there going, It didn't have that energy. It didn't have that thrust that the original had, because it had that action. The action in here is lame. There's really not much to run home about action-wise. If people may say that for the first one, but the first film definitely had better action than this. It plays it more for comedy, it seems. Like this, you can tell it's an action comedy. This plays more as a comedy in a way. I have no idea where this explosion is, by the way. That's not in the movie. And Madeline Stowe does come back in a smaller role, and once again, you don't buy this little subplot that she's leaving Richard Dreyfuss because he won't marry her, and Madeline Stowe's character just comes off as a fucking bitch. And then by the end, somehow, she goes back to him. I'm like, really? Seriously? I don't know, maybe they shouldn't have shaved off their mustaches. Maybe, I don't know how that would make the movie better, but they just look weird from this to this. I don't know why. I mean, it pretty much culminates with Emilio Estevez has to go put the bug in, while Richard Dreyfuss and Rosie O'Donnell invites Dennis Farina and them to a dinner party. You get a little bit of fun moments in the dinner party where Dennis Farina listens in at Richard Dreyfuss trying to call Madeline Stowe, but he thinks that he's cheating on Rosie O'Donnell, so you have that little bit of misunderstanding, but it doesn't save the film. I mean, Miguel Ferrer is a pretty boring villain. I mean, I like Miguel Ferrer as an actor, but he's a very blasé, boring villain. Really nothing to him. Then basically Kathy Moriarty thinks Emilio Estevez is a bad guy, knocks him up, ties him up, is about ready to kill him at these docks. Then Richard Dreyfuss and Rosie O'Donnell save him. They now got their witness. Miguel Ferrer finds out where they are, tries to shoot him with a sniper rifle. You have a little bit of a shootout where some agents think that Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez are the bad guys. Again, a little bit more misunderstanding. Ultimately, they shoot Miguel Ferrer. I don't even really want to go in much more of this film. I mean, I know there are certain fans of this movie. It just, again, some Emilio Estevez, Richard Dreyfuss, some of their little bits, like Emilio keeps calling Richard Dreyfuss dad or papa or, pissing Dreyfuss off. And that's probably why I can't hate this film entirely, because Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez, they do the best they could. They still have that chemistry there. It's just the material is not there for them. The material is there for them in the first Stakeout. The R rating did help. The tone. It seemed like Stakeout seemed like a movie made for adults. This seemed like a movie made for more for the family. It really did. And that was a big mistake in my opinion. I mean, it's PG-13. It just felt like more for the family, while this one was, for us. Which is a shame. I mean, you get Emilio Estevez, Richard Dreyfuss play off each other well. If they were given better material, if Rosie O'Donnell was not in the fucking movie, if they had maybe a better villain or a more hardcore villain or something like that, it just wasn't that funny. It wasn't that thrilling. The action scenes are fairly forgettable. And the only points that really sparked my interest is with Dennis Farina, or the bits with Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez trying to play off each other. But then some of the humor they're given are very broad. Like this scene here. This scene here with them is basically Emilio Estevez pretending to carry Richard Dreyfuss like he's the bride because they go into their new home. Oh, look at the drapes, and it's like, well, whatever the fuck they said. Like, I don't know. The first film just played it much better. I know people are, well, dude, you like Die Hard 4? That was PG-13. Yes, I like Die Hard 4. Sue me. I found a lot of stuff entertaining with that film. Bruce Willis, Justin Long, the action scenes I thought were great. I didn't mind the plot. I liked the film. This one though, just not that entertaining. Kind of like for the most part, okay. Kind of maybe watchable. Blasé at times. The only thing that keep me going, why I will not throw this away, is Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez do the best they can. But the person in the middle kind of fucks it up. The PG-13 fucks it up. The script, Jim Coof or Cove, I don't know what happened to you, man. You went from the original Stakeout to this. I don't know what happened. Very crappy script in my opinion. And John Badham, very blasé direction. I mean, very boring direction by you. I'll be honest. I mean, The Hard Way, which came out before this, that was much better than this film, The Hard Way. In fact, that makes me want to watch The Hard Way right now, which I might do. But yeah, fairly forgettable film. I know I'll stop here so it's not going 20, 30 minutes, but yeah. It's a disappointing sequel. Should have been much funnier, much better. Just Madeline Stowe acting like a bitch. They shouldn't have had her do that. It's like she was barely in the movie. Rosie O'Donnell is horrible, annoying. The villain is lame and blasé and boring. And the humor is more broad. It's more, again, it feels like more of a family film. And I think that's the mistake about it. Go from that. Like, look, I mean, the covers alone. Look at the covers. You just look at the covers alone, and you can kind of see the attitude behind each film. More for adults. And, oh, look at us being cute. And again, this explosion is not even in the fucking movie, so I don't know where the hell that came from. Anyway. Either way, thanks for watching. Take care. If you like the sequel, that's fine. I mean, I didn't watch parts of it for Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss, but they needed a better script. John Badham and Jim Crow, if you were not up in your game with this movie. But either way, thanks for watching. Take care and stay tuned for another review later.